Whistler Blackcomb. Whistler Blackcomb. That's right, we're going to be ranking the lifts at Whistler! Whistler Blackcomb is a fantabulous ski resort in Canada. It's got two mountains, both of which were joined by a giant tri-cable gondola, and the top to bottom skiing is phenomenal, and you got the high alpine on both Whistler and Blackcomb peaks. Gives stunning views, gets cold, but it's beautiful at the same time. This might actually be my favorite ski resort of all time. First time in Canada for us. With all that said and done, we're twin skiing lifts and rides, and this is every lift at Whistler Blackcomb ranked! 23. France. For a high alpine resort that has fantastic skiing and great views, France is pretty much the most pointless and useless lift on the entire mountain. I mean, all it does is that it's right next to the upper section of Big Red Express, but in reality, it never runs. To be honest, the only thing that this lift serves is back up to Big Red in case lines get long, but other than that, nothing. 22. Whistler Village Gondola. I'm sure many of y'all are wondering why this is so low on the list, as it's a very important lift in the lift system. Let me explain. As cool as I think this lift is, I find it to be a hassle having to wait in line because it's the first thing that pops in sight and everybody wants to go to the gondola first. Not to mention that this thing slows and stops almost all the time, therefore increasing the ride time instead of just getting to your destination the way you want to! I hereby nickname this to Whistler Sluggish Gondola, and Fitzsimmons to Garbanzo to Emerald is your best bet. 21. Olympic. Here's one of two beginner chairlifts. This one is on the Whistler side. It doesn't really get you anywhere, so there's no reason to ride this. 20. Magic. Again, not much to say because it's another beginner lift, but this one's on the Blackcomb side. It's not really useful since you can't really reach Cat Scanner or even Accelerator unless you decide to go down to Excalibur Gondola. 19. Creekside Gondola. This is the only major lift at the Creekside base area, and it has its own terrain pod. At the top is the bottom of Big Red if you want to go up to the summit. Also, this lift is going to be replaced with a 10-person gondola, which should hopefully increase capacity and minimize the wait times. 18. Mueller T-Bar. This thing doesn't get much ridership since Harmony and Symphony both serve the same terrain. As if that ever would be an issue? Well, you know, I'm trying to rank these after all. 17. Excalibur Gondola, or should I say, Excalibur. This gets you from the Whistler Village base area to the Blackcomb side, and Accelerator is right there at the top. Aside from skiing, you can also access the bubbly tubing park and bobsled track via stage 1. However, since it is a gondola, it still means that you have to take off your skis. 16. Blackcomb Gondola. Now all the main bases have at least one gondola. I forgot to mention this, but when we rank 2-stage gondolas, we're going to combine both stages in one. It's had some issues its first year, but overall I think it's been more reliable now. The only issue is that there's not an alternative chairlift to take if this thing ever goes down. Except for a Cat Scanner, but that's way too high up. Also, for every top to bottom run, you're going to have to take your skis off, so there's that. 15. Fitzsimmons Express. This is one of 3 lifts that gets you up to Roundhouse from the Whistler Village base. It is much more convenient than the gondola because 1, you don't have to take off your skis, and 2, it gets you to Roundhouse faster. The journey's not over yet because you have a couple more lifts to take till you reach the Roundhouse, but this gets you on the right path. 14. Garbanzo Express. Right after the Fitzsimmons lift is their second lift to get up to Roundhouse. Well, almost. You have to take Big Red or Emerald to get there. Either Raven or Banana or Orange Peels are the way to go. I prefer doing Fitzsimmons to Garbanzo to either Big Red or Emerald instead of the slow gondola because you don't have to take off your skis and you also don't have to wait in a long line and it gets you there faster. 13. Accelerator Express. This is one of the main access lifts on the Blackcomb side. It's right there as you get off the Excalibur Gondola. From the top you can access Glacier and Jersey Cream, bypass the Glacier Creek Lodge and head down to Crystal Ridge, or you can ski down to either of the 2 bases. The only downside to this lift is that it can only be accessed via gondola, which will require taking off your skis. 12. Big Red Express. The Big Red. This lift's a bit on the long side, but the trails are very fun. It's one of two ways to get to the roundhouse from Garbanzo and Fitzsimmons, and also from the Creekside Gondola as well. But one word of warning, watch out for the snowmaking reservoir near the top. If you don't know where you're going, you're going to end up falling in, and it's not going to be good. The trails are pretty wide, so there's a low chance of slipping up. Also, this lift is going to be replaced with a high-speed 6, which should cut down on the wait times.
11. Emerald 6 Express. Now we're at the final leg of the journey from Whistler Village to the Roundhouse. It is also a faster way to get to Roundhouse from the top of Garbanzo, so if you want to save time, you can take this lift instead of Big Red. The lift even crosses under the famous peak-to-peak gondola, so you're going to be in for a real treat.
10. Crystal Ridge Express. I like that this area has its own pod. Great option for intermediates. Some good trail options are Ridge Runner, Rock and Roll, the Crystal Road, and if you want a challenge, White Light. White Light's got all the moguls you want. Plus, the lift runs at a decent pace.
9. Jersey Cream Express. This is your gateway from Glacier Creek to Rendezvous. This is also home to the Whistler Blackcomb Race Center, where you can catch a glimpse of racers skiing through the trees. This lift has some great trails like the Jersey Cream Wall and Bowl, Wishbone, and several others. You can also access Seventh Heaven from the top. Oh, and what's really nice is that when the upper section of Blackcomb Mountain closes for the day and you want to get some more skiing time in, you can take a couple laps on Jersey Cream if your day's not over.
8. Cat Skinner Express. I'm kind of surprised that I'm putting a beginner lift this high up on the list. This lift serves more than just greens. There's a terrain park up at the top, and the Cat Skinner slope is steep and fun. The unfortunate thing is you can't access it from the top of Accelerator, but it's still a fun lift to lap regardless.
7. Showcase. Right off Glacier Express is this super awesome high alpine T-bar. You can hike up to the main part of Blackcomb Glacier, or you can ski down the Showcase Trail to Crystal Traverse. This is one of only a few lifts that is open for summer glacier skiing, and is still the only glacier T-bar after the removal of Horsemen. It's a bit trickier to ride since it is a T-bar, but if you know what you're doing, you're less likely to mess up.
6. The famous peak-to-peak gondola. This thing is a work of art. There's a documentary about the whole process, and if you haven't watched it, you should totally check it out. I'll link it in the description. One thing I love about this lift is the awesome views from the middle of the valley. The other nice thing is that you can ski down from either Rendezvous or Roundhouse. Two great options for top to bottom skiing, baby. Overall, this is a great scenic ride, and I'm sure it will provide many good views in the coming years. Don't believe me? Check it out.
Whoa! 5. Glacier Express, or should I say, Glacier. From the top, you can access the Showcase T-bar if you want to get to the Blackcomb Glacier, or you can ski down Crystal Traverse if you want to get back to the two bases. The lift used to cross over the former Horseman T-bar, which was removed due to the glacier receding. Regardless, this is still a beast of a lift, and I hope it stays around longer as it is one of the main high alpine lifts on the Blackcomb side.
4. Seventh Heaven Express. I was almost going to put this lift at number 7 on the list. Would it have been funny if Seventh Heaven was number 7? Haha. A not so good pun out of the way, this lift is fantastic. Look at all this white and blue. This is the definition of a high alpine lift. I feel like they should have called this Stairway to Heaven because you climb so high up at the end. It also sometimes gets cold and windy up at the top too, so if you're not prepared, it's not going to be super fun. This lift does get hit with huge crowds, but I think it's because Horseman is now gone and the only way to ski down the Horseman Glacier is riding this lift nowadays. It also runs in the summer for summer glacier skiing, so this thing is definitely a workhorse.
3. Harmony 6 Express. Now we're really getting to the high alpine awesomeness at Whistler Blackcomb. I like how you start low into the trees and then you rise up into the open. You can access the Symphony Amphitheater and Peak Express from the top, or you can ski down Picus Traverse if you want to get back to Roundhouse. This lift has some of the best views from the top. Harmony is a fantastic lift, but these next two lifts will blow your mind.
2. Symphony Express. The good old Symphony. I love that the initial high alpine runs turn into heavily cleared glades near the bottom. It's like a better version of Morningside. The trails are wider and there are so many routes to take. The runs do get flat, but it's hardly a deal breaker. Also, that steep climb near the top gets very nerve-wracking. With all that said, we still got one more left to go.
1. Peak Express, the king of high alpine lifts. Just kidding. Anyways, this lift is a monster at the cove. It passes over several steep cliffs and open bowls, so if you're afraid of heights, this is not for you. If you want a challenge, the Cirque, Couloir, and Whistler Bowl trails are right up your alley. Or if you want some mellow terrain, Matthews Traverse to Saddle or Peak to Creek are good options too. Views you get at the top of this lift are absolutely breathtaking. You can see the nearby mountains and almost the entirety of Blackcomb Mountain. While the terrain may not be as lappable as Symphony, the views and scenery give this the edge, which is why it is my favorite lift at Whistler Blackcomb.
Side note, I've also been debating whether I should put this or Symphony at number 1. My opinions have been constantly changing ever since we left Whistler. I'll include Symphony in a future video for our favorite lappable sections of ski resorts, so Symphony, you're not going to be alone. But woo! That was kind of a long ranking, and I'm also kind of sad because Whistler is all the way out west and in Canada, and it's pretty time consuming to get up there. I kind of wish it was my home mountain, but it is what it is. But that's all, folks. Leave a comment if you agree with this list, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye.